Hello and good evening. Yes, it's taken me a bit of time to get to the air. There's probably nobody watching this by now because you're bored out of your mind by my boring banality of stupidity with technology. There's a very noisy car outside also, so you're going to hear that. Someone's Ferrari is making a bit of a noise. Anyway, never mind. That's what you get when you live in the south of France. So anyway, I don't think anyone is watching. I don't think anyone is here. I'm very sorry I didn't promote this on social media. I didn't have enough time today to do any of my work. It's been a very ridiculous day of doing other things. But hello to Nicola. Hello. Thank you for coming and joining us, Nicola and Francis. Hello and welcome. I will say I won't start talking about the topics until we have a few more people here. We've got 10 of you already. Thank you for coming in, the 10 of you. Andrea or Andrea, whichever your name is. Socio Mario, which your name is hard to pronounce, and Nicola. Yes, thank you. Happy Friday. Happy Friday to you all. I say cheers to you and cheers to me and cheers to me if we disagree. But there we go. And here I am from the south of France where, we're watching the world blow up. The world has gone mad. I don't know what's going to happen with Zelensky and Trump in the White House, but looks like there's a bit of a ding dong going on over there. So there we are. Before a few of you other people come in, do any of you have any questions? Do any of you you dress up like a chocolate bar today? Says Francis. What does that mean? I don't know why I'm like a chocolate bar. I'm wearing a wonderful jacket that was from a man called Sean Christopher. He has a wonderful showroom behind PJ's, Fulham Road, Chelsea, London. The wonderful Sean is a brilliant tailor. So there we go. And I say cheers to him. What are my thoughts on Gene Hackman? I think it's a very strange story. Gene Hackman, New Mexico, the dog probably died of not being given enough water. It probably just died strangely, but he died in one room and she died in another room, and there were pills, and he'd taken his glasses off and lost his walking stick or something. Something there doesn't quite add up, but I don't think it's some kind of mad homicidal maniac, but probably just something went wrong and they all died. I don't know. I can't answer that, but there we go. We have Verica Z who says, or Verica Z. Sorry, I'm speaking like an American. Are you wearing one of my favorite colors? I adore it. I have many blouses in that color. One of my favorites. Yes, this jacket is a nice shade of tangerine. I'm told tangerine is the color of the year. So I'm very lucky to have this wonderful jacket that was kindly given. There we go. Have I been tangoed? Quite possibly, yes. Nicholas says, nice jacket. I say thank you very much to Sean Cohen, Sean Christopher of his tailoring business. I hope he's watching. I hope he's joining in. He's a wonderful person, and he makes wonderful clothes for a variety of people. Some of them a lot more famous than me. I'm probably the nobody of history. But there we go. So Nicholas says, the way Trump spoke to Zelensky makes my toes curl. I watched this thing just a few moments ago, and honestly, I think we are heading for a moment of history that will turn into a moment of disaster, because all hell will break loose between all these people. This is a bit like Poland 1939. It's not a good idea for all of this situation. The Zelensky man is not a man I admire. He can't even put on a jacket and tie to go and have a meeting with someone. He thinks that it's kind of a bit of fun and a bit of acting, but that's a bit tacky. But seriously, the way this J.D. Vance spoke was utterly wrong also. So, I think we've got a bunch of clowns in charge of very serious matters. We need some serious people to bring in some serious thinking. We need some rationality. We need some reason, and we need some reasonability. We need somebody to come in and say the adults should be in the room, not the fools and not the morons. We should not be giving these children who think that they're playing with the little train sets ability to be in charge of the room. Ever since Trump has become president and Keir Starmer has been there licking his boots like the little slug that he is, every morning I listen to Radio 4 because even in France I listen to Radio 4. It's all about what did Donald Trump say. We never used to have this on our radio in the morning. It would be about British affairs. But it's always, what did Elon Musk want to say? What did Donald Trump want to say? Our whole agenda has moved. And this is not the way forward for humanity. We cannot be ruled in the entire world by what Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, wants to do and what little games he wishes to play with his toy soldiers. This is like having Howard Hughes back in the room. And he was a cuckoo person as well. I have worked with billionaires from America in the past. A man named Maurice Kanbar. He invented the defuzit sweater comb. He invented a needle to remove cataracts. He came up with Sky Vodka, which was the hangover-free vodka, which was a load of old nonsense. But he made 1.2 billion from selling that. He was a megalomaniac, and I learned from him about how people like this work. Now, Elon Musk is on a scale 30, 40, 50 times bigger than him. Mr. Kanbar was a scary man in some ways, and the day I quit was the day he said, if you carry on like this, one day you'll be me. And I looked at him and I thought, I don't want to be you. And I don't think anyone should want to be or aspire to be Elon Musk. Elon Musk is a disruptor. But it's all going to go very, very wrong with Donald Trump. Because Elon Musk and Donald Trump are both egomaniacs. Egomaniacs will collide. Their visions and paths don't work together. It's never going to work. They will fall out. The fallout will be so huge, and God knows what it will do for the world, because these lunatics are in charge of the mailroom. We really are in a mess, and that's how I see the situation. So thank you for your question. There we go. Right. Any more questions before I begin on the topic, which is Jeffrey Epstein, which is something I know a little bit more about. I am not criticizing Donald Trump. I'm saying Donald Trump is disrupting the world in some ways very good. I think Keir Starmer is a force for bad. Keir Starmer is a boot-licking creep. He's an embarrassment to the world, and he's just doing whatever he can to be popular. And no wonder he was hanging around with Peter Mandelson, the mate of Epstein, the man I'm going to be talking about, because that's all I've been researching today before all this kicked off. So if we have some more questions, is there any more questions before I decide to talk about this, or is there anyone else here, or anyone in the room, or any comments to make? But honestly, I'm not criticizing Donald Trump for disrupting the world. I think Donald Trump has changed the narrative, but I'm not saying I like the change in the narrative, but I don't like Keir Starmer, and I certainly loathe and detest Angela Rayner. There we go. So that is where I feel about British politics. Um, Anyone else with a comment to make about this before I begin? Otherwise, I will begin. I shall say cheers to you and cheers to me again, and cheers to me if we disagree. So, I see a few more people have turned up. So, I'm very sorry I didn't share this on social media. I have been busy doing other things today. Life in France is all about dealing with paperwork. The French, they don't like to make paperwork easy. They give you a reference, but the reference is not the reference. And then they tell you you have to go to this place to go to deal with the reference about that reference. That's how they work. They don't even want to take your money off you. The only thing the French are good at is the rosé. They're very good at wine, and that's something they're excellent at. And I must say their plat du jour. We had a lovely plat du jour today at a restaurant called the Grimaudoirs. Very good food. 19 euro, much cheaper than England. Absolutely excellent. So there we go. I commend that. And there we go. So Salt Unless Monster wants to hear my view on the files. So the Daily Mail headline was Epstein was murdered, which they underlined. Epstein was murdered. They said, the fresh case for why billionaire was murdered, and they put murdered in capital letters. They actually very much tied their views to the mast of the boat of what they thought why he was murdered. And they quoted a lawyer, Spencer Cuvin of Gold Law Firm from West Palm Beach. I can't tell you he was definitely didn't commit suicide, but it looks suspicious. He believed he was going to get out of jail because what he did in his mind was perfectly legal, perfectly fine. He said to me point blank, I paid the girls. They accepted. I didn't drug them. So it's legal. So why would he kill himself if he didn't feel he'd done anything wrong, especially before he's convicted? The timing is suspicious. If he'd ever been convicted and knows he's going away, but before he had a trial, before he even defended himself, before he even gets a chance to speak. A night after they pull him out as his cellmate, 2 cameras fail, 2 guards fall asleep in the highest security prison nearly in the United States, where we've held international terrorists. Or was he killed? Now, many people have many different views about Jeffrey Epstein's death. I never met Jeffrey Epstein. I have come across Ghislaine Maxwell, but that's another matter. And the jail that they were held in New York was certainly it's an appalling place. There's this P. Diddy character in there, and there's this Sam Bankman-Friedman, the financial fraudster. There's lots of famous prisoners, but the prison is cockroach infested. rat infested. It's not a nice place to be. This building should be pulled down and rebuilt, and they should build a decent jail, because whether you're Jeffrey Epstein or, Joe Bloggs, who's innocent, um, people should not be subjected to living in these disgusting conditions. The conditions are appalling in this jail, from what I gather. Um, I'm getting questions saying, you're not sure he's dead. I don't buy into conspiracies, but, of course, people are going to say he's not dead because he was Mossad and all the rest of it. But look, the likelihood is he's dead and Robert Maxwell's dead also. So don't please start with the Robert Maxwell's still alive, because he's too old to be alive, in my view. He didn't have a very good lifestyle, so he'll probably be dead. But no, maybe Jeffrey Epstein could be alive, but no, I'm not. I don't do conspiracy theories. I leave that to other channels, and I'm not going to say which other channels I suggest come up with such things. But no, the nonsense of conspiracy of Jeffrey Epstein being alive, no. I think he probably was murdered in the prison. I've said that all along, but I don't think it's anything to do with the man who I'm going to come to talk about it later. But there we go. So the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, said the contents of the files released will make you sick. Well, I opened the contents of the files from the Ministry of Justice. I'd read every one of them in 2020. She released nothing. It's boring. It's completely boring to me. Now, many of you won't have seen this before, but I have all the files, but I have every address in the address book unredacted. I don't have to see that again. It's a nonsense. There are people I know who are in that address book. There's a woman called Swire. I won't give a Christian name because I don't want to embarrass her. A man called Claverino. They're in the address book. They were never friends of Jeffrey Epstein. They were friends of Ghislaine Maxwell. There's two examples. That's just two examples. And you can go through the files. You can find them. You can find all those people's names. I'm not embarrassing those people by even bringing them up. But it won't be very nice for them that I have mentioned them. But that's just two people. Now, there are many other people in that address book who, are more significant. Peter Mandelson, he had, I believe, 10 entries of phone numbers in that address book. This address book was Ghislaine's address book. Ghislaine was the controller. The stupid public and the stupid Pam Bondi. What a stupid name she's got. She's hardly James Bond, is she? She should bog off. The Attorney General, she's not really done a very good job at exposing anything. She didn't release a list of anything that was of any use. This is a load of nonsense. So members of the public said, what is this? There's now here. It's old news released years ago. It was the very news we learned Clinton was on the plane 26 times. So what? We already knew that. Okay, there's a list about things about sex toys. It's disgusting, revolting. Whatever, who needs to know about Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's sex toys, the revolting little pair that they were. They were clearly deviants, and they were clearly very deranged and very into strange things. It seems a lot of these rich people are into such things, but honestly, it's hardly news. This is not news. And Trump promised he would release a list that gave new information. I don't see any new information. I've already seen all this stuff before. Now, obviously, most people in the public have not seen this before because they're not as interested in this story as I am. But, I've been involved in this story since 2019. So, therefore, I do follow it. But the public want to know is, Ghislaine sex trafficked people to people. Who were those people? That is the information that people would like to know. And Pam Bondi, Mrs. Bondi with an I, has never released anything of any use yet. So Elon Musk may well say that he is, in charge of a new ship, and the old crew are not being loyal yet, as what he said on his Twitter this morning. We need to get some people who are loyal in charge of the mast. But come on, Trump, come on, Musk, man up, big up, show up, grow up, and do something about this. Stop being such pathetic specimens of humanity that you don't actually honor your word. You said that you would bring out the Epstein Maxwell list the minute you got into power. So let's see it. Let's have the list of the names of those powerful men who were supplied these people. Why are you hiding information? Why are you being such a bunch of cowards and pathetic? You are doing all your big man up on every other front, but you did not show the information. This is morally wrong. You are not obligating your commitments. And I think this is incorrect. Yes, Trump doesn't care. He likes to tell lies. Yes. The name's Bondi, Pam Bondi. No, well, Pam Bondi is definitely no James Bond. Pam Bondi is an absolutely useless appointee who has achieved a zilch, zero, and nothing. Shame on her. Shame on her for all the victims who have suffered the trafficking. And, this man, Epstein, the things he did, we're talking about 250 underage women. That's before we get to the women who are above age. And we talk about many other things, and I'll come to all of those shortly. But this revolting specimen, they've released 10 files, the justice.gov organization, government department. As one person on Twitter rightly said, sham binder. That's all it is. It's nothing else. We've seen this crap. We want all names released, and we want these people arrested. And then these people should be fucking locked up. And yes, the person who wrote that, it's an offensive statement, but I think that person sums it up perfectly. It's old news released years ago. It's the very news we learned Clinton was on the plane 26 times. We don't care about that. We've heard that before. We want to know who these people were. How did Jeffrey Epstein end up living in a $100 million house? He was a school teacher who'd been a taxi driver. He couldn't afford a $100 million house, and Leslie Wexner put him there. Why is Leslie Wexner not facing charges? Leslie Wexner is the enabler of much of this, without a doubt. He has not gone after anybody who talks about him. He is a coward. And he's got all these associations with this Abercrombie and Fitch and all the rest of it. Leslie Wexner. Now, he is a man who should be questioned. Leslie Wexner. So that is my view on Leslie Wexner. Anyway, Republican Nancy Mace said thank you to the Trump administration for shedding light on this darkness. She's a South Carolina Republican. She's got 649,000 followers on Twitter. She talks a load of rubbish. Nancy Mace, the biggest waste of space on the planet. Mace needs a bit of mace and send her on her way. This mad woman is wrong. These are not redacted files. Someone is lying or incompetent, maybe both. This is not a correct release of files. And I am utterly disgusted by the pathetic load of rubbish that we are being fed by a pathetic, nonsensical thing. Trump could have done better. Trump should be ashamed of himself in this regard. But of course, Trump used to go to dinner parties with Peter Mandelson at Jeffrey Epstein's house. Where did Melania come from? There's another question. Melania Trump and the aeroplane. There's a question for you all. So that is something that you must consider. Anyway, the lawyer continued. I'll quote his bit a bit more. Epstein was an arrogant man. Always thought he was the smartest one in the room. This is the lawyer Cuvin, Spencer Cuvin of Gold Law Firm West Palm Beach. He never questioned what he had done. He never felt he had done anything wrong. He had an ego that was enormous. It was never my impression that he was the type of person that felt bad for their actions or felt that they would never make it out of jail because they had done something wrong. He had some of the best lawyers in the country at his beck and call, and he throws in the towel. It doesn't make sense. I would agree with him. On the 11th of July 2019, before he died on the 10th of August 2019 at 6:33 a.m., on the 11th of July, he'd spoken to a psychologist, and he said he was not suicidal and never would be because it was against his Jewish faith. This man was never going to kill himself. He'd been through another prison sentence. He wasn't scared of prison. This man, they got rid of him. Without a doubt. But, all of this is still speculation. It's absolutely appalling. Anyway, that's that part of it. Now I'm on to my next part of it. So, right. The matter of this man and his files is very unimportant in the scheme of things because there is a person living, and she is in Tallahassee jail, and I believe her to be far more important. She was the daughter of a man who stole £500 million from British pensioners. He owned newspapers. He owned publishing houses. He owned many, many different things. He was a very, very wicked, horrible, evil man called Robert Maxwell. He is the monster in this tale, and Ghislaine is the other monster in this tale. Ghislaine, is a woman who, at the end, hid herself away in a house called Tucked Away. She doesn't care who she says up yours to. She was on the run and she went to live in a house called Tucked Away. If that's not a sign of a psychopath, I've never seen one. The irony of her is the woman is a complete fruitcake. But, you know, the whole thing about the trial. So Jessica Reed Krause sent me a very useful email today. Many other people will have received the email. The irony of the Maxwell trial, she said, was that women were central to all aspects. Judge, female. Attorneys, female. Defendant, female. Victims, female. Journalist, female. Whilst the powerful men allegedly involved remain unnamed and protected. That is the thing about this story. There's Dershowitz, allegedly. There's, all the others that went to the island. Prince Andrew. There's all those other very rich men. Jess Staley, chief of Barclays, chief of JP Morgan, went to the island. There's plenty of others. Peter Mandelson. I don't think he was interested in the girls, let's be honest, given, him and his husband. But there we go. So I won't go down that avenue further. But at the end of her trial, Ghislaine said, the government has not proven its case beyond reasonable doubt, so there's no reason for me to testify. So she was another pathetic woman, basically, in this. She didn't want to speak. She didn't want to speak out. She didn't want to do justice for the other women. She just wanted to be a coward. And, I always, when she tried to appeal, I always said unappealing, Ghislaine. What she said was, in her silk voice and a poised accent, she said, it was the greatest regret of my life. He fooled all of those in his orbit. I hope this day brings a terrible chapter to an end. She had no sympathy for her fellow woman. And that is something that Ghislaine Maxwell shall always be remembered for. She didn't care about other womankind. She doesn't care about anybody other than herself. Ghislaine Maxwell is the scummiest person on the entire planet. She is filthy, revolting, disgusting, repugnant, vile, evil. She's a witch. She should have been burnt at the stake at birth. She's a disgusting, revolting, evil person. I have never, ever dealt with a story of someone so more revolting. And I've come across stories of murderers, monsters, all sorts of people who've done very bad things. But Ghislaine has no care for anybody. Ghislaine cares only for Ghislaine. She's a selfish person. My only bit of support for her comes in the form that she was probably abused by her father. And, a doctor who dealt with the family, I shan't be naming him, but, he was a psychologist to the family, and he told me, she was abused by her father. Now, it's terrible if that is true, but it doesn't mean that she should go around abusing other people, does it? So, that's where we're up to on that. Ghislaine is a wicked, evil monstrosity. I have never, ever come across someone who has had such privilege and could have used her life for so much good and chose to behave like this. And I'm glad that Donald Trump hasn't given her a pardon yet. And if he does, shame on him. That would be a disgrace. but she is known for fakery. So she faked being in an In-N-Out burger restaurant. I don't know if you all remember this, but she set up a staged photograph via her lawyer, and the background photograph was a bus stop, and on the bus stop was a poster. The poster had never been at that bus stop, and she released that to try and trick the media to say where she was. And then she moved to, tucked away. There was the incident of her husband, who her family didn't even know she was married to, Scott Borgerison. And he soon ditched her after all this blew up. And then she didn't pay her lawyers. She owes her lawyers millions. It's no wonder her appeals aren't very successful, because she can't get a decent lawyer. Because if you're a lawyer and you're out there and Ghislaine Maxwell calls you, please don't take a call, because this woman won't pay you. She doesn't pay anybody. She's a disgrace. She doesn't pay her bills. She's outrageous in her debting. So no, I'm not a fan of Ghislaine Maxwell, as you gather. Anyway, the victims always said, Epstein was pleasant 90% of the time, whereas Ghislaine had a perverted sense of humor and would call the girls her children and say, "I'm offering you up," basically. So who was the more wicked of the two? I would say Ghislaine was the monster. Epstein was a freak, without a doubt, and he was an evil bastard, an absolutely sick in the head monster, a disgrace, and he got himself in fingers into every pie, but that was only because of his controller. His controller was Ghislaine Maxwell. She was using him as the money funnel via La Hogue for the 500 million that they stole from innocent British pensioners, innocent people who had worked their lives off for the Mirror Group newspapers and all the rest, and got nothing because this greedy, grasping, creepy family, the Maxwells, stole every penny of their pension. That is disgusting. They should have been allowed to have peace in their retirement, and instead, the Maxwell family stole their livelihoods. How could that be? It is wrong that nobody in Britain did anything about it quicker. They should have gone after Ghislaine Maxwell, Kevin Maxwell, Ian Maxwell, Pandora Maxwell, all the rest of them. They should have gone after all of them quicker and taken all this money back and paid those pensioners quicker. Those pensioners deserve to end their lives in peace, not having to fight for their pensions. It's appalling. It's shocking. But the twisted Manson-esque family Maxwell and Epstein, they exerted control over these poor people. That was what was wrong with the world. Anyway, Christina Oxenberg, who I've been in contact with, second cousin of Prince Andrew, she's close to the royals. She's part of the Greek set. She said she believes that Ghislaine is going to be coming to prison in Britain. Well, we don't want Ghislaine in prison in Britain. It costs £55,000 a year to keep a prisoner in Britain. Ghislaine was convicted of crimes in America. Let the Americans keep her. We don't want her back. We don't need to pay for Ghislaine to be kept in prison. Ghislaine should rot in America because she's a convicted criminal in America. She has an American passport. She has an Israeli passport. She has a French passport because she was born, of course, in France. She has an English passport. We have no need for that woman to be imprisoned in our prisons. The prison system in Britain is breaking already. We can't even get a review of the Jeremy Bamber case. We can't get a review of Omar Benguet's case. We can't get a review of Mark Alexander's case. These are people who shouldn't be in prison. We do not need to add to the burden of the British justice system of having the revolting, repugnant stain on humanity that is Ghislaine Maxwell in our prisons. Ghislaine Maxwell should be rotting in America for the next 20 years, well, whatever is left until if she still lives. I I hope she rots in hell. She's one of the most evil, evil, evil people I've ever encountered. Horrible, vile bitch. And I don't like Ghislaine Maxwell. It's very clear, I know. And, Victoria Harvey has sympathy for her, and some of my other friends say, oh, well, you should give her a jot of hope. No, she doesn't deserve a jot of hope. She doesn't deserve an iota of anything. She is a disgusting, repugnant, evil bitch. So that's my view on that. Honestly, this Epstein Maxwell, and they had themed gatherings. So at their themed gatherings, they would have discussions of eugenics, molecular engineering, population control, doomsday scenarios, inject the human race with Jeffrey's DNA by impregnating women at the New Mexico ranch, superior humans, controlled breeding. This is what these two freaks wanted to do. They were like Hitler. They're disgusting, evil, evil people. They were like Mengels. Dr. Mengels had nothing on these freaks. I went to Woodside, to the home of the Jurassic family, and I didn't know that I was there with Isabel Maxwell because she was Isabel Jurassic. And I believe that this ranch was probably an inspiration for the Epstein ranch. I'm not suggesting that Isabel is guilty of anything. She was perfectly civilized to me, but these people have very weird ways of thinking, all of them. They, the Jurassics were involved in creating the birth control pill. And Dale Jurassic was a very civilized man to me. I spent many an hour chatting with him in the Tosca Cafe in San Francisco, and Sean Penn was there, and all sorts of other people, and da 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 da. And I didn't know he was married to a Maxwell. And I went to visit this place, and it was an artistic community, and it was all a bit alternative, and that's what you get in California. It was not something I was scared of, or nothing seemed odd to me. There were lots of very nice people there, and there were young people and old people. But, in this New Mexico place, I think Isabel's sister and Epstein created something that was monstrous. And it was so far from anywhere, and they controlled the police. It was thousands of acres, and nobody could get away. Once you're in this place, you can't escape. There was a case this week in Scotland, 14 miles down a road, and this man was torturing people and keeping them hostage. And he was a multimillionaire businessman with a castle, and it was 14 miles off the public highway. If you keep people far enough away and they can't escape, the things you can do to them are monstrous, and it's absolutely shocking. But my next point is more important. Why isn't Leslie Wexner facing legal consequences for funding Epstein? Why isn't he funding? He funded this man. It's clear because he transferred the Lenox Hill mansion, worth about $100 million at the time. Of course, it was never sold for such. The figure is rather exaggerated because now it's tainted forevermore. It was sold. There wasn't a part of the company of Wexner, Wexner's brand company, that Epstein didn't have access to. Why is that not happened? This is very important. Um, there we go. So, you know, it's a shocking thing. Um, we've got Prince Andrew, and the clotted cream thick Fergie versus the sour milk of Ghislaine. But, that was a bizarre love triangle. We've got Kevin Spacey, who was quite happy to go being photographed in Buckingham Palace. And, in 2000 to 2001, for example, Ghislaine took 8 holidays with Prince Andrew. And then Prince Andrew has the cheek to say, I didn't know her that well. How can you not know someone who you've been on holiday with 8 times in 1 year? If I go on holiday with someone for 1 week, I would know who they were. If I went for 1 day, I'd know who they were. Randy Andy, it's all getting a bit convenient. And it's obvious he can't go back to America because he will be charged. And I hope that the Trump administration do the right thing with him. If he turns up on American shores, charge the bastard. He is an absolute toe rag, a piece of disgrace, and shameful. And, as for him and his greedy wife, his greedy daughters who take money from the public purse and the private purse because they work in private operations. They are quite the contrast to the wonderful children of Princess Anne, who is the most dignified and sensible royal, because she'd said, my children won't be given these titles, so they can therefore go and work for themselves. Princess Anne handles herself with decorum and decency. Prince Andrew, he does the opposite. He'll do anything for a dime. The Chinese money, the Russian money, any old bit of money he can rake in. He is a grifter and a grabber. And as for Fergie, she is an utter shameful piece of toe rag. There she was in Palm Beach this week going on about her boobs. Derek and Eric, as she's called them. And how much was she paid to turn up at that little party? A bunch of rich, middle class, dreadful, plastic, not fantastic women at some lunch. And she was paid to give a speech. She will do anything for a dime. You could turn her around and off she'd go. She'd do anything for a penny. She's appalling. Shame on the Duchess of York. And she wants to now go on, guess what? The worst program of all, Loose Women. So the Duchess of York is planning to do £3,000 an episode on Loose Women. She is supposedly a member of the royal family, and she's going to get £3,000 every time she goes on a gross program called Loose Women, where they oogle men and make horrible noises. If I had a program called Misogynist Men, it would be closed down. I would be condemned. But we're allowed to have a program in this woke society called Loose Women, where they go on about, a bit of sex. It's disgusting and it's revolting. It's appalling. And the Duchess of York is a revolting, appalling woman. Not a great fan of her. So there we go. Anyway, that's enough about all of that. And, Ghislaine, she's going to remain, as the Cuban inmate said of her, aloof and snobbish. I think Ghislaine will rot in prison. I don't think Mr. Trump will be doing much about her, but there we go. So anyway, we'll move along and we can now have our quiz, if you would like it, if there's someone there to help with a quiz. If not, first, let's have a few more questions. So thank you for saying it's very informative of me to share this information. Yeah, he paid 12 million to someone he'd never met. LOL. You're quite right there. Why would you pay 12 million pounds to a woman you'd never actually met? That's a very strange course of action, isn't it? So, thank you for your point. It's so vulgar, yes. Annie says, I wouldn't go on Loose Women for 3,000. Well, would you go on Loose Women for 4,000, 5,000, 10,000? I wouldn't go on Loose Women for £1,000,000. There you go. I would never, ever do that. I don't want to be involved in such a show. It's disgusting, it's revolting, and it's repugnant, and it should be closed down. I think Loose Women is exactly like This Morning, Philip Schofield, all that rubbish ITV put out. ITV are far worse than the BBC, in my view, actually. So that's my opinion on that. They're a bunch of leeches. Yes, you're completely right. All of them. Totally right. Well said, the Blue Nomad. Any more points? Any more questions? Martin Frizzell has finished today. Yawn, says Linda Joe. Yes, Martin Frizzell presided over the creation of the revolting programs This Morning and Loose Women. It is good that he is being consigned to history. He is an absolutely appalling, useless man. He's rubbish. He's totally inept. And the programs are boring. I don't watch these kind of programs myself anyway. Obviously, it provides entertainment, and many people must love it because it wouldn't be on the air, would it? But that doesn't mean that it's correct. I think that we need some decency and some standards brought back. I'm not Mary Whitehouse. I'm not trying to censor the public. I don't care, a bit of sex and a bit of fun, fair enough. But Loose Women is revolting. It's disgusting women talking in the most loose, horrible way. And the word is loose. And they even have Tamara Eccleston, the breastfeeding woman, obsessive, banging on about breastfeeding on it, about a 5-year-old child. It's sick in the head. And I don't like the Eccleston family, as it's well known, but to have her as a guest, what does she add? She's like a modern day Bet Lynch. She's like Peggy Mitchell on crack. Awful. And then we've got Willoughby. Yes, Willoughby, I agree. BRMC. I want Willoughby off the TV. I can't stand her. Willoughby is a terrible woman. Awful. You'd love Steeples luncheon. Okay. I don't think ITV are going to commission that. I don't think I'd be popular on ITV. I do talk TV from time to time, and I like it. I love talk TV. I love Peter Blexley. I think he's a wonderful presenter. And, I was going to talk tonight about the Claudia Lawrence backpack matter, but I'm not going to get on to that. I don't think we have time. And I was going to talk about Meghan Markle and her stupid rubbish, but we'll save that for another day. I think we've done enough. You don't like Scof? No, nobody likes Schofield. Schofield upset everybody. My mother wasn't very happy with Schofield, so I really don't like Schofield. No, he's a disgusting pest. Awful man. You'd like Miss Marple. Peggy Mitchell on crack has made you laugh. Well, that's exactly what she is. Tamara Eccleston is Peggy Mitchell on crack. I've said that for the camera. And there will be a judgment in that court case next week. So don't worry, I'll be commenting on that. Now I can get back to doing this. I will be making observations. Anyway, Miss Jane Marple. There we go. Yes, we love Miss Marple. The original Miss Marple. Absolutely wonderful. I don't like the sequels. No. The replacements for Miss Marple, never. No, the original Joan Hickson, absolutely wonderful. Delightful lady. You can't replace something so wonderful with any old rot like the nonsense that came next, but that's what they tried to do. Margaret Rutherford you preferred. Okay. I preferred Joan Hickson, let's be honest. So we shall have our quiz. Is there someone available to help me with my quiz? There is Lady Min here in the background. Does Lady Min want to say anything?
I've been asleep, but now I'm awake, and I'd like to join in.
Lady men would like to join in. I don't know what Miss Marple's saying about Cilla Black, but there we go. We've got Alex Belfield's getting out of jail soon. Yes. Well, Alex Belfield is not someone who should be celebrated. He is a troll and a pest, and he's vile. And Katie Hopkins and him should just go and get a room and bog off. I don't like people like that. Lady Min woo woo, says Nicola. Are you going to say something back?
Yes, hello, Nicola.
We've got a hello, Nicola, for you. So there we go. Unfortunately, she's not sitting near the microphone, so you might not hear all of this. There we go. The Blue Nomad asks, is it 5 years already for Belfield? I'm not sure of Belfield's sentence, but there we go. But I think one of you is more of an expert, but it can't have been 5 years, no. So, are we ready for our quiz? Is there somebody here who could perhaps take notes? But returning to the topic, of social media has changed people's lives. It has allowed people wonderful freedom like this, where you can speak to me and I can speak to you. I'm a complete nobody, but I can say things to the world. You can say things to me. Now, this is all very well, but people get carried away. And this Belfield used platforms in a inappropriate way. And the likes of this girl, Julia Wandell, and I have been getting more messages about Julia, have used these things in an appropriate way. And when these things go wrong, they go very, very wrong. And this is the problem of all of this. And now we have this man, Elon Musk, in the White House, who controls Twitter, which to me is the most useful platform. We end up with a big problem, don't we? Because people say stupid things, and then if things get out of hand. I think we need a return to rationality. Think before you tweet, or whatever, X or whatever you want to call it. Think before you post something. Yes, I have opinions, and I have strong opinions, and I do tend to rant in my little way, but I think we all must be a little more careful. And I am concerned that every morning now I listen to Radio 4. I know Radio 4 is not the Bible of everybody, and I know most of you people listening and watching hate Radio 4 because you hate the BBC. But when the agenda becomes Donald Trump thinks this about this, Donald Trump thinks this about that, Donald Trump, it should be about what we think in Britain on Radio 4. It shouldn't be about what Donald Trump thinks. But they are getting carried away with the narrative. Donald Trump is a brilliant operator. He is a stage manager. He is fantastically clever at this. And he has got them under his little fingernails. He's got them. And we all have to become a little bit more rational in our response. I think that is very important. But there we go. Right. Well, anyway, we'll try doing this quiz. But if nobody can help me, We'll just have to guesstimate who wins. So, your first question is, Who famously crossed the Alps with elephants on the way to war with the Romans? The winner is Miss Marple. So Miss Marple is an easy one to remember. It was Hannibal. Yes, of course, it was Hannibal. My second question to you all is, what was Sir Christopher Mayer nicknamed by John Prescott, the revolting Sir Christopher Mayer, husband of the charity Tin Banger, associate of Theresa May? What was he nicknamed? It wasn't Butt Munch. He was an awful man. He even spent Christmas. I even had him to my home for Christmas Day lunch once. He was extremely rude, an ungrateful piece of toe rag. We haven't got a correct answer yet. No. It wasn't toe rag, but it should have been. So, what did John Prescott nickname the Red Sox fop? Was actually his name. So no one got it correctly. Asshole, Stinky Pete. Well, he wouldn't have been called Stinky Pete given he was called Christopher. But anyway, nobody got that correct. So you've got no points for that one. The Parthenon marbles are controversially located in what museum? Christopher Robin would have been a good name for him, actually. Yes. But anyway, the next question. It wasn't the natural history. Linda Jo gets the point. So Linda Jo gets the second point, following on from Miss Marple with the British Museum. In what year did World War II end? The Second World War, what year did it end? The winner again, Miss Marple now has 2 points, is 1945. Well done, Miss Marple, who's got 2-1. And the other point went to 0. Which famous historical document begins with the words, "We hold these truths to be self-evident"? It was not the Bill of Rights, and it wasn't Magna Carta. No. Invisible Ray now gets a point, enters the room with Declaration of Independence. Well done to Invisible Ray, who gets 1 point. So we've got one person with 2 points, one with 1, and one with 1. And then we've got 0 on the other one. So there we go. What event marked the end of the Roman Empire in the West? It wasn't the Great Fire, no. It wasn't the fall of the Trans. The point goes to Simon Coates with the fall of Rome. Well done to Simon Coates. So you have 1 point. Which ancient Chinese dynasty is often considered the golden age of Chinese civilization? It's not Ming and it's not Tang. I can accept from Simon Coates the Han. Yes, the Han dynasty. Simon Coates gets yet another point. So Simon Coates has another point. I don't know who has what points, but I think you've got several points now. Right. What Renaissance artist painted the Sistine Chapel's ceiling? Miss Marple gets another point. So there is close proximity with Michelangelo. Even though you didn't spell it correctly, you did get it first, and I can accept that your typing is perhaps not as good as your sleuthing, actually, Miss Marple. There we go. Who was the first woman to win a Nobel Prize? Miss Marple gets yet another point. Miss Marple is definitely in the lead because it's Marie Curie. What was the name of the German military strategy of rapid, overwhelming attacks? The Blue Nomad says Marple is on fire. Nicola probably gets the point because, in fact, does get the point because she says Curie. It is Marie Curie, but I will accept the surname. I should have been more specific in my question. So you can have the point. There we go. Oh no, actually, no. There we are. We've already. What In what decade was the internet created? You haven't got a clue. It wasn't 1970. It wasn't 1980. In what decade was the internet created? It wasn't 1990. No, it wasn't 1984. Nicola, it's not like a year, it's a decade. But there we go. Miss Marple gets it with the 1960s. It was in the 1960s. So another point to Miss Marple, who is storming into the lead. What was the primary cause of the Great Irish Famine? Miss Marple gets it again with potatoes. Potato blight, of course. Potatoes they went wrong. What was the name of the peace treaty that ended World War One? Miss Marple gets yet another point with the Treaty of Versailles. Miss Marple seems to be doing extremely well. I don't know how many points you've got, but you're definitely the winner at the moment. What is the name of the first computer virus? You say she's lightning. Well, you know, it wasn't Bill Gates. No, it wasn't a computer virus. No, and it wasn't Trojan. No. Um, it wasn't measles. No. The first computer virus. It wasn't called the worm. It wasn't called mumps either. No. A computer virus. It wasn't called Hello World. It wasn't called COVID. It wasn't called Gates flu. Um, Obviously, you don't know the name of the computer virus, so I think none of you are going to get a point for this. If you don't hurry up, I will say nobody gets a point. The answer is Creeper. Right. What was the name of the ancient Egyptian sun god? The winner is the Blue Nomad with Ra. The Blue Nomad gets the point. Well done to the Blue Nomad. The next question. What was the code name for the Allied invasion of Normandy? What was the code name? The Allied invasion of Normandy. It wasn't D-Day, no. It wasn't Sword, no. You're obviously all going to your Google, and you're not doing very well at it. It wasn't mincemeat. No, that was an operation concerning a friend of my grandmother. In fact, yes. It wasn't sea lion. No.
We were there.
The winner was Miss Marple again with Overlord. No, it was nothing to do, Lady Men in the background, with Dunkirk. This was the operation of Normandy. A different thing. This was Operation Overlord. Which powerful Mongol ruler conquered a vast empire stretching from Asia to Europe?
India.
Lady Min says India. Her answer is completely ridiculous because it doesn't answer the question. It wasn't Wayne and it wasn't Anthea Turner, no. Anthea Turner couldn't be put in charge of a bus ticket, so let's not get in there. And it wasn't Cilla Black, no, she didn't control an empire ever. She did Surprise, Surprise, and she didn't really turn out very surprising. It wasn't Wayne Kerr, whoever. The Blue Nomad loves Lady Min's answers. There you go. An answer from that. The winner with Genghis Khan is, in this case, a new entry, Lois Petzold. Thank you, Lois. Thank you for joining in. The next question. What was the Brompton Oratory used as by Soviet spies during the Cold War? Min is not allowed to answer, but she's shouting, but her answer is incorrect anyway, so it doesn't matter. So what was the Brompton Oratory used as by Soviet spies during the Cold War? It wasn't to contain heroin, no. It wasn't used for radar. It wasn't used for hiding guns. Your questions are getting too hard. Okay, Nicola. It's a very easy question. These are the kind of questions that I know a lot about. They're just the kind of questions I tend to ask. It wasn't for opium. It wasn't a meeting place. It wasn't for spying, but it concerned spying. It wasn't used as a barber shop. No. It wasn't a hotel. I'm liking your variety. It wasn't for fuel storage, and it wasn't a coffee shop. No. You don't have a clue what the Brompton Oratory was used by Soviet spies for during the Cold War.
Confession box.
It was used as what was called a dead letter box. It was where they dropped letters to one another inside the Bibles. So one could come in and one could collect. They did the same with bricks in a park in Bloomsbury, and they'd put £8,000 inside a fake brick. There we go. So you've all learned something new today. I'd like to throw in a question that is relevant. So I'm going to give you another one of a similar thing, and I'm glad that you have enjoyed that question. It wasn't a brothel, no. In my next question, I will ask, what was Georgy Markov poisoned with via the tip of an umbrella by Agent Piccadilly, Francesco Galino, on the 7th of September 1978 on Waterloo Bridge? What was he poisoned with via the umbrella? The winner immediately is the Blue Nomad with a ricin. Yes, ricin was used to poison him. He was an employee at the BBC. And my final question is a more innocent one. What is allspice also known as? What is allspice also known as? It's not known as aftershave. No. Unless you're talking about the poisoning, Jane. There we go. It wasn't cinnamon. It wasn't Victoria Beckham. Allspice is known as Victoria Beckham. It's not nutmeg, but Victoria Beckham could be known as nutmeg. It's not mixed spice. It's not five spice, no. It's not aftershave. You all seem to think it's aftershave or five spice. Well, curry, no. It's not halal. It's not baby spice. Now, what is allspice known as? It's not Meghan Markle, no. It's not pepper. You're getting closer. It's not young spice. It's not mixed spice. It's not mixed race spice, no. The winner is Joyce Grove, who gets it with pimento. So I think our winner tonight is very clear. It is Miss Marple. Well done to Miss Marple. I don't know if you're Joan Hickson or Joan Rutherford, but whoever you are, Miss Marple, you have won. You didn't do very well with the last question, but you've done very well on all the others. So Miss Marple is our worthy winner. So you definitely outfoxed all the others and you got to the clue of the case. So thank you, Miss Marple. Miss Marple is the winner. And thank you to Simon and Jane and the Blue Nomad and Linda and Lois and all the others who've joined in. Joyce. You've all done very well for your entrance, but tonight our winner is the redoubtable Miss Marple. Thank you very much to Miss Marple. Now, if you have any more questions, please ask them now, because otherwise we've been going for 1 hour and 17 minutes, and I don't want to bore you for too much longer. You don't need to have me in my Michael Portillo type jacket boring you forever. So if we have anything else to discuss, please name it now or forever hold your peace, as they say. So please ask some questions. Very much looking forward to a few questions. Have I been to Antibes or Nice? I have been to Nice, yes. I haven't been to Antibes lately. Lady Min, do you like going to Antibes or would you rather go to Nice?
Auntie.
Lady Min would like to go to Antibes. Why? Quick answers. You've got to be quick.
Yeah, the markets and
The market is better there.
the old buildings.
The old buildings are better there. What do I think of King Charles? I think King Charles is doing an exemplary job, given that he has to put up with the most appalling prime minister. Could you imagine having to work with Keir Starmer? Absolutely revolting. You couldn't have a worse prime minister on the planet. He must have thought Rishi Sunak was bad enough, but to end up with this Burke, you born in a barn prat. Donald Trump called him handsome. I thought that was embarrassing. He is not handsome. Does Donald Trump need to go to Specsavers? There's something completely wrong with anyone who thinks that Keir Starmer is handsome. You know, what is it with him getting his free glasses from Lord Ali and his suits and his wife's underwear? It's utterly disgusting. Absolutely wrong. Right. I live in Preston, near where you used to live, says Jojo. I know Preston very well, yes. Well, not that well. I used to go to Paul Heathcote's restaurant there. Paul Heathcote doesn't have any restaurants there anymore, but I used to love his restaurant. When I was like 17, I would go and have dinner in these places. I was a very strange, spoilt child in some ways. I used to go and eat in fancy restaurants because that's what I like doing. I was interested in things like this. I'd go on the train and go on an adventure, and no, I liked good food, and I liked Paul Heathcote, and he was the best thing in Preston. He had a nice thing in Winkley Square, Preston. I remember taking 4 or 5 of my school friends for dinner. I don't know, these people thought I was mad, and I probably was. I definitely am. But I used to, as a school child, like to go for dinner in these kind of places. That was what I did. So there you go. That's my association with Preston. I can't tell you much more about Preston other than that. There we go. Right. Kira's a robot, says the blue nomad. Nomad, sorry. Keir is a robot, yes. He doesn't speak very well. He could do with some lessons. I think I probably could at this stage of the night, but there we go. He may have cataracts, says Lois. Well, I'm not sure about that, but it doesn't matter if he has cataracts. He shouldn't be getting free spectacles off Lord Ali, should he? He's got Harold and his wife to deal with. You mean Prince Harry, I assume. An awful person. Jane lives near Chesterfield on the Derbyshire border. Well, I was born in Chesterfield, actually. That's the place I was actually born, in a hospital there. So there you go. My birth certificate reads Chesterfield, Derbyshire, of all places. So there you go. I think we've discussed this before. Yes, Winkley Square was near me. Yes, I hope you remember the wonderful Paul Heathcote and his wonderful restaurants. Right. Miss Marple has semolina en croûte. I don't know what that is, but it sounds pretty revolting. I agree with you, says Jules B, about loose women. I haven't watched This Morning for 10 years. Scoff made my skin crawl, and Holly is a numbskull, says Jules B. Well, Jules B, I totally agree with you. I don't watch these revolting programs, but you are totally right. Mary Page says, welcome back. Thank you, Mary Page. Lovely to see you again, Mary Page. It's great to have such great supporters. Right. I can't read everything out that's coming in because it's coming in rather quick. You were born in Clapham, the Blue Nomad. Well, I was reading about Clapham today, and if there'd been a nuclear disaster, the Clapham Common would have been used as the place for the mass burials. I bet you didn't know that, but I think you probably prefer not to know that. But am I on the side of Gino De Campo? I think Gino De Campo is a revolting, repugnant, awful, horrible, creepy pest. I've heard a lot about him over the years, and he's not nice. So he's another sex pest. We don't need more sex pests in the world, and get rid of him. It's time to give some fresh faces a chance. There's too many of these people on this TV. As Brenda from Bristol will say, no, not another one. We need to get rid of these people. Let's have some fresh faces. Give some new talent a chance. Young people who are emerging should be given a chance. We don't need any more Gino De Campo. His name says it all. He was a robber. He robbed guitars from someone's house, from some musician's house. He went to prison for that. He's not a nice man from the start, and he's well known for being a bit of a creep. A very famous photographer who I happen to know, he said, I knew about him 30 years ago. Seriously, we don't need any more Gino DeCampo. Gino DeCampo, camp off. Bog off. He's another one who needs the ticket. Give him a bus ticket. Send him on his route. Off he should go. We don't need any more Gino DeCampo. There you are. I speak out on Gino DeCampo. You like me to give a view? I'll be direct. Right. That's the end of Gino DeCampo from me. So add him to Cilla Black, Anthea Turner, and all the others. Put them on the bus ticket. Right. He used to be a sneak thief. Yes, we know that. Gino DeCampo was a thief. Self-appointed talent is Gino, says Jane from Yorks. Yes, quite agree with you. Australian TV isn't worth watching. It's madness, says Celia. I'm afraid I don't watch Australian TV, so I can't possibly comment. Neighbours, I believe, has been cancelled again. Poor old Harold, that man that went off swimming and they found him years later with his glasses on the beach. He's come back, but he's dying of cancer in real life. I'm sure he's a very nice man. I read an interview with him in I think it was the Daily Telegraph the other day. He seems like a very nice man, or the Guardian or somewhere. It was some interview about this, but Neighbours. Neighbours created the wonderful Kylie Minogue, and Kylie is delightful. Kylie's parents, absolutely wonderful people. Absolutely enjoyed meeting them. Fantastic. Kylie is the pint-sized pop star. Nothing wrong should be said about her. She's like Susan Boyle, and Lady Men loves Susan Boyle. Susan Boyle.
Oh, God, yes.
We love Susan Boyle, and we love Kylie Minogue, because Kylie adds a bit of fun to the world, and as does Susan Boyle. We like people who add a bit of joy, a bit of vivre, a bit of life, a bit of panache. But no, we don't like Gino. No, Gino, bog off, Gino. Take your campsite elsewhere. Put your campsite in the bin. We don't want Gino DeCampo. Camp off. There we go. That's my view on Gino DeCampo, or Campo. One of the loose women panel lives in Venice. Okay, that's very interesting. The Blue Nomad, but I don't know what relevance that has. I love Venice, but I don't love loose women. Loose Women is a disgusting, horrible program that is anti-men. And in this stupid age, we shouldn't have a program that's anti-men if we're going to not allow anti-women. I'm sorry, we should be allowed to have misogynistic men. I'm sorry, if we have loose women, we should have misogynistic men. The ITV should have a counterbalance, if that's what they want to do. I don't approve of the word loose women, the words loose women. It is not correct. So no, I do not support the concept of the program Loose Women, because it's a bunch of middle-aged women oogling and ogling, or whatever you want to call it, men. It's disgusting, and the things that they do, and they have people like Gino DeCampo on it, who should camp off. So there we go. I've had enough of that, and they're going to have Fergie, the filthiest royal on the planet, the woman who took money from the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein and never repaid it. Fergie, Sarah, Duchess of York, on their show for $3,000 an episode. Disgraceful. And they have people like Kerry Katona, Katie Price, Katie Price, the skank, as she's nicknamed, the woman who used her disabled son so she could carry on driving her cars. She's a piece of rubbish. Repossessed house, all the rest of it. Shame on all of these people at ITV for enabling these people by giving them a program. And all those stupid women shouting at one another. That horrible Dobson woman, Linda Dobson, birds of a feather, who ruined a friend of mine's funeral by giggling at the front. It was shocking how she behaved at that funeral. I'll never forgive her for that. That's a personal vendetta I've got against her, but we won't go into that. Anyway, how many animals will lose their lives with Katie Price? Yes, the PETA people, PETA, have offered to pay Katie Price not to have any more animals. I don't like PETA generally because I think they're a bunch of busybodies. But they're right. Katie Price should not have any more animals because so many have died in her care. She doesn't care for them. She doesn't look after them. She doesn't feed them properly. She doesn't do anything decent. Katie Price is a scrounger and a grabber and a grifter and a piece of rubbish. And she's fake and she's plastic. She's definitely not fantastic. And it's absolutely appalling. So, no, I totally agree with you. The animals should not be allowed, Miss Marple, near Katie Price. As for Robson, yes, it's Linda Robson, not Dobson. Sorry, I do get confused. I don't watch these kind of trashy programs. I like to watch Howard's Way. Always there. And we do watch that quite often. They've all got something in common, says Simon. They all went bankrupt. Yes. I don't believe Anthea has been bankrupt, but she's had. Anthea actually did have a few bankrupt companies with her ex-husband, of course. Yes, you are correct. Anthea, even she's been a bit of a grifter in that regard. You don't like Carol. You love Carol McGriffin. She left because she became disillusioned with the way it was run. Carol McGiffin or something. I've heard of her, but I'm not quite sure who she is. Carol McGiffin called the press to my friend's wedding. Okay. Jodie Marsh has high death rates at her farm. Yes, Jodie Marsh used to call me up in the middle of the night, and that was rather scary. I had a friend who was friends with her via a man who used to be involved at The Sun, Stuart Higgins. And she used to call me up and say, I'm giving you a bit of a tinkle-tankle for a bit of a chit-chat. And I never knew quite what this woman was or what she wanted. But she was like another version of Katie Price, and I didn't ever understand. I was only at university at the time, and I didn't really know who she was. So it was a bit confusing, actually. It was very odd being introduced to her. I met her in a hotel opposite the BBC in Portland Place. I remember the exact meeting place in a bar in the hotel right opposite, but I shan't say any more about it because, frankly, it's boring. But that was my only ever encounter with Jodie Marsh, who I believe is now of gender unknown. Carol presented Loose Women and lives in Venice or Vence. Okay. Right. Vence. Okay. Very good. Right. So, what's a tinkle tankle? A tinkle tankle, I think, means a telephone call. I'm calling you, giving you a tinkle tankle. That's the way she spoke. She would always go, I'm giving you a tinkle tankle just for a chit chat. I always remembered it. Very strange. Vents in the Alps Maritimes. Oh, well, there we go. She was great, but she didn't fit in with all the SH star that went on. Okay. I don't know about Carol McGiffin or is it Carol McGiffin or Carol McGriffin or something? Katie Price is engineered for her song to release a song. Will the exploitation of her son ever stop? I think you may have perhaps written that incorrectly, but the exploitation of the poor son who is blind is cruel, heartless, morally wrong, and repugnant. Katie Price is an absolute disgusting person. Katie Price says Simon is getting her son to perform pajamas, singing songs by PJ Harvey. I'm not sure, but I don't know what songs Katie Price is getting her child to sing. But the poor blind boy needs to be left in peace. And, it's time his father manned up also and intervened. But clearly he's as much use as a chocolate bus ticket in all of this situation also. Uh, he's absolutely rubbish. They're all a load of rubbish. These people are disgusting. They have no shame. Abusing this child in this way is morally repugnant and is morally wrong. Wouldn't you agree, Lady Min? The child should be left in peace. She shouldn't be giving out her speeding tickets to a blind child. She should take responsibility for her own actions. She's got how many children by how many men? Absolutely wrong. The way she behaves in her life. That woman, and she goes around getting, campaigning about this, that, and the other, pretending that she's some moral crusader. Well, why doesn't she go home and look in the mirror first and think, stop having your boob jobs and stop doing this and stop getting free holidays whilst you haven't paid your debts? She hasn't paid a single one of her debts. She's always in court. I get messages about her from a lady who doesn't like her. I don't know who this lady is, but this lady clearly knows an awful lot about her. She refers to her as the skank, and she always emails me and a Daily Mail journalist, and she refers to the skank has done this now. And we never know. We don't actually know as much as this woman, but it's always about she's at the Rolls Building. She's at the Rolls Building. The Rolls Building is the Royal Courts of Justice. There's always another court case. There's always something else she's done. And she hasn't paid this. She hasn't paid that. She hasn't done this. She hasn't done that. And still, the next day, she's there on holiday in Turkey. Who pays for all these flights? Who pays for it at these hotels? Who pays for this stupid 24-year-old boyfriend or whatever he is? And he's another piece of scum to go around with her. This is the latest, we're on to about husband number 25. Boyfriend. It's ridiculous. Anyone else would have had everything taken off them by now. The house was repossessed, the mucky mansion, the land was contaminated because of what she'd done with the sewage. It was full of effluent. Disgusting. No wonder they called it the mucky mansion. And it wasn't even sold for 1.25 million. It used to be the home of Francis Maud, who was once Chancellor of the Exchequer, if you recall. And that's who she bought it from. But she managed to muck that up, and now she lives in a rental house that costs $5,000 a month. Who pays for that? She's allegedly bankrupt. Who pays? How does a bankrupt live in a £5,000 a month house with all these cars? There's the pink Range Rover, which frankly is filthy and disgusting. It's pretty old now. It's not worth very much, but the ex-husband to be was a car dealer, and he was running an illegal car business out of the mucky mansion. And then they poisoned all the dogs, and dogs got run over because they ran out onto the main road. This irresponsible woman, why do the public continue to give her airspace? She needs to be stopped. Don't watch Katie Price. Close her down, whatever her real name is. She should rod off. She's another one who needs to bog off. Tell her to shove it up her jumper. Absolutely appalling. Torag, as BRMC says. Torag. She's a dirty B. Yes, I agree. We are hilarious. Min and I are hilarious, says the Blue Nomad. Okay. We're hilarious.
Sorry.
The Blue Nomad said you're hilarious.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Come on, join in.
Yeah, well, sorry, I kind of lost it then.
She rather lost it, but she would like to. Would you like to live in chaos with Katie Price? Asks another. Would you like to live with Katie Price, Min?
No, I would not. Certainly not.
Well, you need to give a more defined opinion.
I don't know much about her, but I've read the headline, but seems to me she's just a load of rubbish.
She's a load of rubbish, says Lady Min. There you go. Killing the dogs. She was getting IVF. What about that? She wants more children.
No way.
No way. We're very
She
entertaining.
was banned
She
from having children.
She must be banned from having children, is the opinion I'm getting back from the room. There we go. Honestly, Katie Price, she should be priced out of the market. It's time Katie Price was reduced in price. She needs to have a yellow sticker. She should be put in the bargain basement, and she should be told to bog off. She's not a buy one get one free. She's a buy one get 25 free. Honestly, we don't need any more Katie Price in the market. I think it's time Katie Price was priced out. So there we go. That's my view. We're getting 100% agreement with Lady Min on the opinions on Katie Price. Put her in the stock, says Mark Ogden. She had just had a miscarriage. Eek, says TM. I don't know.
To Jeremy Clarkson, he'll know how to deal with her.
Lady Min thinks we should give her to Jeremy Clarkson. He'll know how to deal with her. I'm not quite convinced that's the solution. God forbid. Alex Belfield agrees with you on Katie Price, says Sunshine. Well, Alex Belfield's opinion is not worth the price of a bus ticket. No thanks, not from him. We'd like to throw tomatoes at her, says Nicola. Glenn would like to put her on the baby Stockholm barge and leave her forever. We're getting a lot of opinions on Katie. Min is wonderful.
Thank you.
That comes from Glenn.
Thank you, Glenn.
So Glenn agrees there. Right, we're all very entertaining. So that's where we should leave that. But we've nearly reached 1 hour 42. We've got 20 more minutes before we better close this down. So we better spice it up and talk about something else, or we better go. Right. So if you have any more questions, you're very welcome to send them in now. I wish we had some music I could play, but I don't know how to do it. Min is pointing out we have wine. In the south of France, the only thing that flows is wine. The only thing they do here is make it difficult to pay bills. They make it difficult to do anything. They make it difficult to correspond. They don't answer phone calls. They don't answer emails. She doesn't like the food. I think some of the food is perfectly good, but it depends where you go. Are we coming back tomorrow? Yes, we'll try and come back tomorrow. Yes, we will definitely do that. Can you come live with us? Okay, Nicola. Well, if you come to the south of France, Nicola, you're very welcome to come and visit us. We'd love to meet you, Nicola. You've been a great fan and a great supporter, so we would love to see you.
Framboise and champagne.
Min is offering you framboise and champagne. Simon is saying, poor. I won't repeat what Simon's saying. You know, it's awful to hear if this is true, you know, about an incident with poor Harvey, the child of Katie Price. I don't know if that's true, but anyway, have I seen Trump and Zelensky a stand-up fight? I did see some of it earlier, but I don't know what's happened in the hour and a half I've been doing this. Are we having a quiz? Asks Chili Karen. You have missed the quiz because we did it earlier. The winner was Miss Marple. Miss Marple won our quiz tonight, so you were a bit late for that. You can't play music on YouTube because of copyright. Well, it's probably wise. I agree. Katie Price should have a swingers party with Anthea Turner. They could both swing into action together because they're both tacky, tawdry, and tasteless. I will agree with you, Darren. Thank you for that. Glenn would like to have a large one with you. Cheers to Glenn from Min and I.
Where is Glenn?
We don't know where Glenn is, but Glenn says cheers. Well, Glenn says mine's a large one. Chili just joined and is sorry. Well, we're not sorry. We're sorry that you missed out on the earlier action. I'm a good person, Mr. Steeples. Oh, well, thank you very much, TMTB. Miss Marple says, c'est la vie. Okay, well, thank you, Miss Marple. And thank you, TMTB. That's very kind of you to say. Nicola asks, why is Monaco corrupt? It's so beautiful. Well, rich people tend to be attracted to beautiful places, and where there's money, there's corruption. Let's be honest. Simple as that. Do I conform with the mainstream media's agenda about the Ukraine situation? What is my agenda? What is the mainstream media's agenda about the Ukraine situation? The judge. My view about the Ukraine situation is that the man in charge there is not exactly Mr. Honest. But the man in Russia is equally vile. There's two ghastly people, and I don't like either of them. That's my particular view. Right. Right. Miss Marple says she's on her way for drinks.
On her way to what?
For drinks.
Oh, good.
Min says, oh, good.
I've got the ice out.
She's got the ice out. There will be ice for Miss Marple. I think Miss Marple would rather have a notebook, to be honest. But given she'll have to solve the crime that went on the Orient Express on the way, surely. Nicola is from the sunny isle of Northern Ireland. We send our love to Northern Ireland. Northern Ireland is a wonderful place. I've only been there once. I would like to go there again, and I have tried the Titanic gin, which was some, marketing hype from Belfast. But I do think Belfast is a lovely place, and I've been in the countryside in Northern Ireland, and I thought it was a fascinating place to visit. I like it. Do I speak French? Sadly not. Otherwise, it would make life easier for me, Lauren. If I spoke French, I could deal with all these dreadful bills and things that we have to deal with here, paperwork, and without having to beg, steal, and borrow from utterly anybody to help me. I'm useless. And my French teacher from school, Mr. Gorse, he's probably watching, or he probably will watch this later. Hello, Mr. Gorse. You do tune in from time to time. I should have paid attention to you when I was at school. I do apologize. So an apology from myself to Mr. Gorse, the most esteemed French teacher. And he does correspond with me quite a lot. Glen Hall, Broadstairs. I'm very, very sorry to say, no, I don't live in Broadstairs anymore. My home in Broadstairs was taken away from me by a vicious, dreadful, scammy landlady named Julie Moran, who issued what's called a Section 21 before they changed the law on Section 21s. And it has been noted today by a number of people that this woman has, very cleverly manipulated the system. And yes, I'm currently going through a court case with her, and I'm looking forward to exposing Mrs. Julie Moran of the North Foreland Estate, Broadstairs, for the scammy landlady that she is. What does Lady Min have to say about Mrs. Julie Moran?
Horrible, revolting, pretentious, stupid.
I hope you can hear this.
Awful.
Horrible, pretentious, awful woman. She's the kind of woman that comes out with the comment, "I do not fraternize with my tenants." I paid her plenty of money, and I was a very good tenant, and I did not destroy her house. And she utilized legislation to get rid of me, and she operates in a very appalling way, and her estate agents also, and they stole my deposit, and I'm not going to shut up about it. So I'm glad I'm finally talking about it, because I'm not going to go through any more mediation with her, because she tries to take me to court. But that woman had enough money out of me, and she should have been grateful she had a tenant, because that house had been empty for months before I rented it, and it was empty for months afterwards. I don't know if it's empty now or what she's done with it, but that's none of my business anymore. But honestly, I miss Broadstairs and the wonderful people, and the wonderful people of the Magnet, and the wonderful Mario, and the wonderful Max, and the wonderful Alan, and the wonderful Kate, who I hope is getting better, and the wonderful Jenny, and many, many others, Peter and Maria, lovely people. Our friend, our dear friend, who's now in a home. The lovely lady that used to sing as well. I can't name them all, but there were many, many lovely people. We miss the people of Broadstairs, and it's a great shame, that after my lovely neighbour died, everything went downhill with that square where I lived, and it's shameful. So there we go. There we go. Well, there is no more the Magnet, Simon. No.
Love to the Magnets.
Min sends love to the Magnet also. We
And
send
to
love
all
to
people there.
Will and Nikki, the wonderful landlord and landlady, and the wonderful Samantha, who run it, and then the other lovely people who work there, like Steve, who I believe is now in Cornwall. He's moved on, but he was a great person. And Samantha and her lovely children, great, great people. Absolutely. That's the joy of the earth, wonderful people, kind and considerate and welcoming, and Max and Elaine particularly, very dear, dear people, and their lovely children. And honestly, Viv and John, and nice, wonderful people. I can't name them all because that'd go on forever, but right, no more Finn. No, there is no more Finn. I haven't seen him. I wish him well. And the wonderful Jono, he's still in Australia from what I gather. He's still sailing around, but we love Jono, great man, lovely guy, absolutely wonderful. Right. The Magnet's doing okay, says Glenn Hall. Oh, you hate queer Starmer, as you call him. Okay, well, he's I'm not sure what he is, but there we go. Am I living in France full time? No, I'm not living in France. We're just visiting for now. Any Magnet locals on here tonight? I don't know. If there's any Magnet local, we'd love to say hello, Magnet local, the Blue Nomad. Come and stay with you. Well, where are you, Glenn? We'll come and pay you a visit. We could always visit. I don't know where you are, but please let us know. There is a time we can go for a road tour, but we need to know where to go. So, where is Glenn? Let's be having you, as they say.
Yes, the 39 steps.
The 39 steps. Lauren is in Doncaster. Well, I'd love to go to Doncaster to the races. Wonderful race course, Doncaster. Great racing always there. So I can't do my racing at the moment because I can't work out how to use the VPN. So that's a bit unfortunate. The VPN is just not working. And so therefore I can't watch British TV and I can't log into my betting account, which I'd love to. I'd love to go on my horse racing, but I can't. I've not been able to do any of that. Lauren lives over the road from the race course. You wouldn't recommend living here, though. It's dog rough. Okay. So we'd just pay you a visit and we could come and have lunch. I think we could come up for a day's racing in Donny, as they call it. Is that not the name of the place? There we go. You're an interesting man. Sorry you lost your home. I'm sorry I lost my home. But c'est la vie. Nothing lasts forever. And I'll have another home and I'll find somewhere else and I'll decide where I go next. But that particular woman exploited legislation and I don't like crooks and she's a crook and I'll call her out as a crook. Her name is Julie Moran. She lives on the North Foreland estate, Broadstairs, and she is a nasty piece of toe rag. She's a dreadful woman. And what would Lady Min say of her?
Does weeding.
She does weeding. That's what she does. She's always on her knees. She's always on her knees doing weeding. And we offered her a cup of tea, and she said, "I don't fraternize with people like you, tenants. I don't fraternize." I think that is extremely rude. When she was paid, a 7-figure sum. She's had plenty of money out of me, and the woman has stolen my deposit on top of that. And
invited for a cup of tea.
And she was invited for a cup of tea, and there we go. The Blue Nomad asks, have I turned my VPN on? I've tried to turn it on, but it doesn't work. The Blue Nomad adds, landlords can be very greedy. Glenn Hall says, thought you were loaded. Well, it doesn't matter if you're however rich you are, you shouldn't be exploited by anybody. I'm not rich. I never claimed to be rich. Never claimed to be anything. But she is not a nice woman. As Lauren says, she sounds like she has a stick up her arse. How rude. You offered her a drink. What an odd response. What do you say to that?
I'm not sure.
There we go. Ooh, Julie Moron is the answer that comes from Glenn Hall. Moron is definitely the name that she should be given. Don't worry. I hope she's watching. Julie Moran, if you are watching this, don't worry. I'm not scared of you. I'm not intimidated by you. You're a bully. So why don't you bog off and, pay for some cinema screen on a beach to try and be the pillar of the community that you claim to be, like you did in the COVID crisis, which is something that this woman did. She's ever so grand, and my children at the private schools. She's not grand at all. She's a pompous arse, as the person has rightly said. Well said. She's a pompous person. She can't be going on the beach because there might be some lowly renters on it. Yes, I know. She probably wouldn't like it there, would she? She is a snobbish middle class oik. That is what I will say of her. Anyway, she's made the wrong enemy in me because I'm not going to shut up. I'm going to be a pain to her. Mrs. Moran. She can rod off. Stick her on the Bibby Stockholm. Yes, that boat needs a few more inhabitants. We don't need all the illegal immigrants on it. We need Julie Moran. Let's put her on the list. She can go on there with Katie Price tonight. I think Katie Price and her have are deservedly awarded places. Yes, we'll give her hell. Yes, thank you. Anyway, I don't really want to talk about her. She's irritating and annoying. And I'm not going to be giving her anything. She's stolen my money and I want it back, but I'll never get it back. I know that because that's how the court system works in this country. Once you pay a deposit for a house, you don't get it back. But this moron woman, she wants more. She's ridiculous. I did not wreck her house, and I would never wreck anyone's house. It's disgusting and shameful that I have to even waste time on this. Anyway, she sounds like the type of person who will get off over you taking about her, bad or good. Don't let you wind her up. Precisely. It's time not to talk anymore. We've said what we need to say about her. I won't be mentioning her again for the moment. Okay, I agree. No more Julie Moran. Bye-bye. Bog off. You're on the Bibby Stockholm, love. Right. That's the end of her. Right. Yes, Chevron Angels says it happened to me. It's awful how you get screwed over. Yes, I agree. People are very bad. But anyway, she needs Katie Price as a tenant. Yes. Well, why don't we send Katie Price her way? That would be a nice thing to do. We'll move along, and we're coming up to just 2 hours, so it's time nearly to end. Have we any final questions about something a little more positive or something else other than that woman? You want Sakir Starmer on the Bibby Stockholm? I agree. He can go as well. We'll give him a pass. So that's 3 of them we've awarded passes to tonight. Yes. All in orange tonight, yes. Orange and blue in my case, but there we go. Donald Trump is in orange also, but that's just his face. There we go. You need a list for the Bibby. A sexy Satsuma. Oh, there we go. Tangerine Dream. There we go. Do I have a swimming pool? No, we don't have a swimming pool, and I'm not really into swimming. No, I wouldn't be going in the water right here now. No, it'd be very cold. Have I found a new local pub? We go to various local bars. We love Le Cafe in Saint-Tropez, the wonderful staff, and the bar in the port, which is very lovely there, and the Joy de Vie in the Garde Freinet. That is the best. Run by a lovely lady. And the Grimadoir in Port Grimaud is very nice. And the other places will be opening in the next week. So, yes. You like it in Saint-Tropez. Okay, well, if you're visiting, we would love to meet you. The Blue Nomad. Thank you. Right. Yes, right. Good to know, says the Blue Nomad. Right. Anyway, I think we're nearly at a conclusion here. So, the Blue Nomad lives near Nice. Oh, well, if you're near Nice, would you like to come and visit us, Blue Nomad? Yes, Lady Min would like to meet you.
Nice is a beautiful town.
Nice is a beautiful town, says Lady Min. Promenade des Longues, or something she said. There we go. Have I met Michael Barrymore? Asks Hatchy. I have met Michael. Well, I haven't met Michael Barrymore. I sat next to Michael Barrymore at the next table at the launch of a restaurant once, the corner of Old Church Street and King's Road. It was a restaurant that didn't last very long, and he was at the next table, and he was very loud. And it was before I knew about the Lubbock family, and then I became involved with the ex-wife of the poor man who was murdered, and I subsequently came to know about the case. So no, I met I did not meet Michael Barrymore, but I sat next to Michael Barrymore, and he was loud and obnoxious, and it's not surprising that he's just such a repugnant specimen. But I can't personally claim to know Michael Barrymore. No, I'm very entertaining. Thank you. Barrymore, don't get me started. I agree with you. Michael Barrymore should be in prison, in my view. For not because of he did anything, because he lied about what went on, and frankly, he helped pervert the course of justice. In my view, that's where I stand. And Essex police protected him, and I think they, again, like the case of Jeremy Bamber, which they bungled, the case of Dr. Jones, which they bungled, the case of the Range Rover murders, which they bungled, Leah Betts, which they bungled. Do I need to go on? Essex police, along with Dame Cressida Dick, the woman who went to school with Ghislaine Maxwell, whose father taught Ghislaine Maxwell at university, the Metropolitan Police, two most shameful police forces in Britain, Essex Police and the Metropolitan Police. And again today, it's been shown the North Yorkshire Police have been rather useless with regard to Claudia Lawrence. That's another story with the backpack and the tinfoils sandwiches and all the rest. These police forces, they don't help the victim. All they want to do is close it down. Oh, get rid of it. Just more hassle. Close it down. Disgraceful. Are there any surprises on the list? Milo, I will say to you, Donald Trump released a list that's a load of rubbish. Nothing in it. It's old news. Boring. Tell us who the people were trafficked to, and then charge them. I think we know why he doesn't want to do that. Let's be honest. He is useless on that front. The list is a load of old rot. It's just like the JFK stuff. Doesn't change anything, does it? Nothing new. What does it change? Nobody knows anything any different. The same old conspiracy old nuts will come out and say, conspiracy. There we go. So let's leave it at that. Yes, Simon Coates, you're right. Oh, a dead body in my pool. I'll go for a jog. Barrymore. Yeah, that's what he did. He jogged off. He ran away from the house. His agent told him, get out. Leave the other people to deal with it. 9 people went to a house for a party. 8 of them lived. One of them ran away. Michael Barrymore. Why did he run away? Why did he hide from his own house? Why did the pool thermometer go missing? Why did the door handle go missing? I can go on and on about Barrymore. Barrymore is an evil, evil man. And all his silly little videos he makes on this TikTok, he ought to shut up. Shame on him. Absolutely disgusting man. Revolting, evil, evil man. I don't like Michael Barrymore, and having known the family of the victim, Stuart Lubbock, we should remember Stuart Lubbock, the father of 2 children. Those 2 children have grown up with no father, thanks to what Michael Barrymore's party did. Now, I'm not suggesting that Michael Barrymore is the killer, but 9 people went to a house, 8 of them lived, 3 of them were women, they could not be the murderer. The man was brutally raped and abused, and he died. And his children have grown up with no father. His father died, a lovely man, Terry Lubbock. He died without getting justice for his murdered son. And his son was murdered and raped. His son nobody has had justice. And Michael Barrymore thinks he can go on TikTok and make videos and joke around like he's like some kind of bit of entertainment still. Filth. Shame on him. Shame on him. Lock him up. Throw away the key. Because he's just revolting. Because he knows what went on in his house and he won't tell the truth. He never, ever did anything to help the Lubbock family get justice. That is very wrong. And as Nicholas says, poor Stuart, shocking. Well, it's poor Stuart's children I actually think is shocking for as well. Why do you think people become evil and corrupt when they get money? Asks Lauren. Once you've got some money, you just want more. That's the problem. I think that's what happens with a lot of these people. I think that's essentially it. Just look at Bernie Ecclestone, a coffin-dodging, convicted criminal fraudster. He'll do anything to grift a pound coin. Didn't want to pay his tax bill. Just does anything to keep anything he can. That's what those kind of people do. He's on a different scale because he's a billionaire. But, look at this Zelensky. It's all about the money. He's not a nice man. Look at Trump. All of them. It doesn't matter who they are. Once they get hold of a bit of a wonga, they lose all sense of proportion. I think that's the summary, to be honest. Money can be used for good, but most people who get money get carried away. There's no justice for the victims and the families. Correct, Linda Jo. Rip Terry, says Nicola. Yes, Terry was a good man who cared about getting justice for his son, and he died without doing it. And that is incredibly sad. And the people responsible are Michael Barrymore and Essex Police. And Essex Police need to be called for account in the case of Jeremy Bamber. After the New Yorker article by Heidi Blake, it is time that there was the CCRC, which was run by these corrupt women, Pitcher and Nella, who were living it up large, living up La Vida Loco in Montenegro and dining at the Ivy and, all the rest of it they were doing on the accounts, whilst the workers had to do 45 cases each a week, which they couldn't manage. It is time that the CCRC, who were given 9 pieces of evidence concerning Jeremy Bamber, and have managed to deal with 3 pieces of evidence since 2021. Come on, hurry up. Get your clogs on. Speed up. It is time in March, as they have promised, to come forward and go to the next stage of reviewing Jeremy Bamber's case. I also want to see, as the wonderful Terry Waite has always said, I want to see a review of the Mark Alexander case. Mark Alexander is an innocent man who is in prison, and if he'd admitted he was guilty, he would be allowed out. Mark Alexander is an innocent man, and I will continue to campaign for him. Um, he needs to have a review of his case. Omar Benguit and his wonderful sister, who campaigns tirelessly, Amy, a wonderful lady who campaigns when there is a serial killer who operated in the neighborhood who killed somebody months only after this poor man has been framed for a murder he did not commit, and if he would admit his guilt, he would be allowed out. It is time his case was reviewed, and I believe his case is under review also. Um, there are people who are suffering injustice, and it is wrong that the CCRC is so lax, but nobody does anything about reinvestigating poor Stuart Lubbock's murder and rape at the home of the bungalow of Michael Barrymore. It's not a mansion, so don't call it that. I'm so bored of people calling it that. This horrible, horrible crime left two boys, without a father. These children have grown up with no father. And Michael Barrymore could tell the truth. There were 9 people at that house, and 8 of them lived. Nobody else could have committed this crime, unless there was some secret people hiding in the bushes. Let's be honest, that's highly unlikely. I want justice for that particular person. His name is Stuart Lubbock. We must remember the name of the victim. Everyone talks about Michael Bloody Barrymore. He's a creep. He's a cretin. He's absolutely scum of the earth. He's disgusting. He ran away from the scene of a crime, which happened to be his home. He is responsible for his own property. He is responsible for his swimming pool and his hot tub, which he turned on. The hot tub, it's the middle of the winter, and you've got all this going. Why? And why did you lure all these people back to your house? You're a freak, and you're a con man, and you're an absolute disgrace. And then you went on Big Brother with Jimmy Savile, Michael Barrymore, and you dressed up as Hitler. And you got down on your knees and you worshipped at the knees of Jimmy Savile, a man who has since been confirmed as one of the worst predatory famous paedophiles in history. Michael Barrymore, you are an absolutely appalling man, and I hope you're watching this, and I hope you put this on your TikTok and make a nasty video against me, because frankly, I think the public need to be told. You are disgusting. You got on your knees to Jimmy Savile after you allowed a party at your house where you ran away after a poor young man got murdered. And then you ran to Australia, as Lady Min is rightly adding. You are filth, scum. You're a piece of excrement. You're the worst person on the planet. And now you're living in Spain like you're living La Vida Loca, and you think you're living it up. What about those poor children who've grown up without a father? Before you die, tell the effing truth. It is time these poor people learnt the truth of what happened that night, because their father is dead. And somebody in your house, there were 9 people who went there, and 8 of them lived. You all, along with the rest of them, have the responsibility, in my view, to tell the truth. But it is your house, and you did the worst thing. You ran away before the police arrived. And it was your house. It was your party, and you took no responsibility. And you go on Piers Morgan going, oh, everyone's victimized me. No, you're not the victim, Barrymore. The victim in this story, Barrymore, is Stuart Lubbock and his children and his late father, who tirelessly campaigned. And he was a decent man. And the ex-wife, a lovely lady who I dealt with also. It upsets me hugely that you, Barrymore, go on your TikTok making all these silly little videos going, oh, I'm in a shopping centre. No, we don't care where you are, Barrymore. We don't want a reinvention of you. We want an explanation of what happened that night for the Lubbock family. And we want you to explain the truth. You've always lied. You lie through your teeth. 9 people went to that house. 8 of them lived. You ran away from the scene of a crime. And you tried to say, oh, he must have been abused in the mortuary. That's a load of horse shit. You disgusting, revolting man. You made up things about somebody who was dead. That is appalling what you did. And then you try and say, oh, it wasn't my fault. I'm a famous person. I had to protect myself. Ooh. Grow up, man up, and show up. Barrymore, tell the truth. I can't believe I've got this angry. I do apologize. But this man makes me very upset because there is a very clear set of circumstances here. And we had Miss Marple as a winner of our quiz. Me being Mr. Marple here, well, 9 people go to a party, 8 of them live, 3 of them are women. The man was raped. It can't be the 3 women, can it? So that limits it immediately. So we go down in numbers straight away. And then we've got the man who runs away from the scene of the crime, and we've got all of that. So we gradually can work down to who the criminal could be. And these people, none of them are prepared to tell the truth. Well, step up, man up, show up, and finally tell the truth. We need justice for Stuart Lubbock. I will say that. I want justice for the Menendez brothers. I want justice for Omar Benguit. I've got a whole list of them who are people who deserve justice. Not everybody who comes to me who do I believe in is innocent. People go on at me about this bloody Lucy Letby. I'm absolutely sick of hearing about her. She's dreadful. Awful woman. I'm not interested in her story. I'm not convinced she's innocent just because Nadine Dorries and David Davis and so speak out on her behalf, Peter Hitchens. Not for me. I'm not convinced. So that's not for me. But I stand up for what I believe in, Lauren. Yes, I'm right. I do stand by what I believe in, and I'm not going to change my mind, and I'm going to speak out. But, we cannot be in the world where we allow this Barrymore to come back. He's revolting. He has no shame. He thinks it's kind of funny to make jokes of throwing himself in a dustbin. The man's a lunatic. He's a half-wit anyway. Creepy. The way he treated his ex-wife, that poor woman Cheryl, appalling. She came out and said, he said he couldn't go in the swimming pool because he couldn't swim. Well, why did he have a swimming pool in his garden? And she said, of course he could swim. He doesn't tell the truth. He's a faker. He's a deceiver. He's a deception artist. That's why he was in the business he was in. He's a comedian, allegedly. I didn't find him very funny in the first place, but there we go. I'm very funny even in the depths of despair. I'm a force for righteousness. I'm sorry. cases like this upset me. I'm sorry. I can get very passionate and angry because I don't like injustice. And it's wrong when you meet people who are victims and people who have suffered, like I have, you realize that everything in your life is not very important. You know, when I met a person a family of a missing person, and they didn't like the fact that the McCanns got all that money and they get no help. And they said, we wake up every morning and we think, where is our son? And how do you talk to someone who's been through such situations? And with this Barrymore, he sits there and makes jokes about it all. He makes jokes about everything. And that is repugnant. It's wrong. It's disgusting. He is. I don't know what's wrong with this person.
He's lost his looks. He's lost his
Here we are. Lady Min
He's
says
lost everything.
he's lost
So
everything.
it doesn't really bear comment.
He doesn't bear comment, says Lady Min, but I have to say I think differently because I think that this family deserve justice. And we need he's ugly and old, yes, we know that. But honestly, Barrymore keeps trying to come back, says the Blue Nomad. Yes, he does keep trying to come back, but we will stop him because remember when he got on his knees in front of Jimmy Savile and when he went in this Big Brother house and he dressed up as Hitler. That is not funny. Neither of those two actions are the mark of a sane person. There is something unhinged about this wicked, evil bastard. I'm sorry, to dress up as Hitler. That's not, I heard there was somebody the other day who dressed up as Gary Glitter and he got thrown out of his golf club because he dressed up for a fancy dress party as Gary Glitter. That's pretty bad. But to dress up as Hitler, Bernie Ecclestone praises Hitler. That's pretty weird and disgusting and wrong. And he praises Putin. He praises all sorts of bizarre people. Bernie Ecclestone's another cuckoo person. But this one dressed up as Hitler and thought it was funny. It's not funny to mock, the Jewish people who were massacred by that evil man and all sorts of other people, gypsies, gay people, all the other people. It is not funny. But then to get on your knees in front of Jimmy Savile, the worst paedophile in kind of British entertainment history, the sick, weird freak who even abused people in morgues, that says that you are a person of warped mind. You should be sectioned. Now, I'm not going to go on about it anymore because I think we've said enough. But honestly, truthfully, Barrymore needs to face justice. It is time Essex police manned up, woke up, and showed up and took him away. Take that man back in and question him again. I want to see Barrymore asked questions. It was Barrymore's house. 9 people went to a party in 2001 and 8 of them lived. It's like Agatha Christie. Then there were none, as they now call it. It did have another name, but I'm not allowed to say it because, of course, the woke would get cross. But it's a bit like being on that island, gradually, one by one of them has to be the killer. It's the reverse. It's not they're all going to be killed, but it's going to be one of them is the killer. Let's find out. The likelihood is It's not the three women for a start, so they're eliminated immediately. It's likely not the bin man because he was just a bit of a local dunce. There was the boyfriend. He's got a few questions to answer about his criminal past. And then there's Barrymore. So why can't these people again be properly questioned? Go through the evidence again. There's plenty of evidence, and find the pool thermometer and find the door handle. These were likely weapons that were used in this appalling assault. Anyway, that is that. I won't say any more. So there we go. Don't go there with Essex police, says that. Glenn, okay. Evening to Elaine. You're late. Oh well, Elaine, you get a mark in the naughty book. What does Lady Men say to Elaine, who's late?
Oh, Elaine's better late than never.
Better late than never, says Lady Min to you, Elaine. You've got forgiveness. Glad you're here, and we love having you. We love having all of you. It's a pleasure to be with all of you. We've nearly done 2.5 hours, so I think this is probably more than enough. There we go. Anyway, I want to say thank you very much, and thank you for calling me a warrior. I'm not a warrior. I just try and help where I can. With the Menendez brothers, we're getting progress. Robert Rand is doing the brilliant work, and Gavin Newsom, who I've been pestering for years, is hopefully going to maybe announce some clemency for them. He is getting interested in the case, so that is a bit of positive news, but that's something to talk about tomorrow. So I'm going to say good night to you all. Good night. Thank you very much. You've all been wonderful. Happy evening to you all. Good gardening, and cheers and best wishes. Thank you. Good night.